The National Firearms Act of 1934 does not apply to felons. Yes, you heard that correct. Somebody with a felony record cannot be charged with an NFA offense. So, in order to understand why exactly that is, we have to do some context on what the NFA is for those that don't know, get them up to speed. The National Firearms Act of 1934 was the first major gun control bill passed in the United States, and it basically takes things like suppressors, short-barreled rifles, and short-barreled shotguns and puts them under a restricted status where they are permissible to own, but you have to fill out some extra paperwork to be able to manufacture or buy them. If you do not fill out the paperwork and receive your tax stamp for one of these items, such as a suppressor, SBR, SBS, anything like that, and you get caught in possession of it, that is an automatic $250,000 fine and 10 years in federal prison because it is a federal crime to own a restricted firearm. Now, the reason that felons are not able to get charged with any NFA offenses like you would be able to is because felons already can't own guns. If they get caught with like an AR-15, regardless of how legal the configuration may be, it is automatic felony possession of a firearm, which is a federal offense in and of itself. The Supreme Court ruled in Haynes versus United States in 1968 that a felon cannot be charged with an NFA offense on top of their felony possession because it's essentially double jeopardy. You're charging them twice for the same offense. Say that a felon gets caught with a short-barreled rifle that they don't have a tax stamp for. Okay, cool. You're already in felony possession of a firearm. It doesn't matter what it is. Now you don't have a tax stamp. We can't charge you twice for the same firearm, so you're just going to get hit with felony possession. Which really drives the point home that, the NFA was never actually about effective regulation of firearms. It was just about putting as many barriers in between you and permissible ownership as possible. It was never meant to actually be a regulatory barrier to keep certain people from owning certain things. It's just meant to be an obstacle to discourage you from wanting to go through the process and the effort of owning something like that. Especially nowadays in 2026, now that, we don't have to pay a $200 fee to get a tax stamp processed anymore. It's free, so it opens up the floodgates. You also have stuff like US versus Miller in 1939 that basically ruled that anything that the military uses should be exempt from regulation on the civilian side because in order to establish a well-regulated militia, the best way to do that is with military weaponry because that was kind of the whole basis that the Second Amendment was written on. And the Supreme Court ruled in favor of that all the way back in 1939, and that stance has yet to be challenged in any level of court. It also has yet to be cited in any hearings in any level of court when it comes to actually arguing in favor of the citizens in that case. So who knows? We might see a Supreme Court case one day that cites US versus Miller and we get this shit all thrown out the window, or we reach the common use agreement. There's a couple things that could happen, but let's keep our fingers crossed that it actually does because this is bullshit.